Years after fire damaged parts of Burns Bog in Delta, Metro Vancouver continues to rehabilitate the bog, a job that's done both on the ground and in the air. Fire is a grave threat to the Burns Bog Ecological Conservancy area, which is not open to the public. The bog's many layers of peat can fuel a fire for weeks or even months.
So fires in the bog are a lot different than a fire in a normal forest. Bog, it's basically peat down to the water table and below the water table. And so once it starts into the peat, it can smolder for a very, very long time. And in fact, usually it's very, very difficult to put out.
The underground peat layers, which have built up for thousands of years, release carbon dioxide into the air during a fire.
The 8 to 10 meters of peat in this bog accumulated over 8,000 years. So we're looking at about a millimeter of peat per year laid down over a large area like this. You can see that the amount of carbon that is stored in this ecosystem is vast.
And fire also leads to a massive increase in new pine seedlings. Pine trees have long been in the bog, but having a lot more of them is bad news here.
The cones themselves are what we call serotinous cones, and they only release their seed if a fire comes through. So you have 100 years of cone crop on the ground, an intense fire coming through, and suddenly you have zillions of seeds dispersed over the area.
Bogs need a high amount of groundwater, and a thick new pine forest would suck up too much of that water and provide too much shade, damaging the bog's ecological health. Flying over the bog is a logical way to assess potential fire risks and the status of previously burned areas.
We're conducting a wildfire protection flight and fire season orientation flight with the City of Delta Fire Department.
From the air, the Regional Parks team can photograph areas of interest, including nearby Highway 91 construction and the burn zones.
Do we circle around the burn?
Andy, if you look below us, this is usually a spot where there's lots of campfire and trespassing activity. Okay, something to keep an eye on.
The team was able to survey their ongoing efforts to rehabilitate the burn zones.
And eventually this sphagnum peat will increase in height if we keep the conditions right on site. If it dries out, it won't have a chance. So what we want to do is re-wet the zone by allowing it the chance to increase the water table through seedling removal.
A few months after the helicopter survey, rehabilitation work resumed in the area affected by the 2016 fire. It will take several years to clear these pine seedlings. There are 30 hectares in this burn zone and about 25,000 seedlings per hectare. About 750,000 seedlings in total. The work is labor-intensive and urgent.
The seedlings are growing at the same time as that we're removing them, so the longer we wait, the bigger they get, the harder they are to remove.
The hope is that this work will help improve the ways that Metro Vancouver and the City of Delta take care of Burns Bog for decades to come.
This will not be the last fire in the bog with certainty, and with a 100-year vision in our management plan, everything we learn now will be carried forward into the future as we manage the bog over that time period.